It's 3 a.m. and I am sitting straight up in bed. My mind is racing. I'm totally stressed. My husband wakes and asks, "What's wrong?" And I say, "Who am I? And what is my purpose in life?" You know what he said? Perfect. He said, "Oh, go back to sleep." And that's when I realized that whether you're a realist like my husband or a dreamer like me, you will ask that question of yourself sometime during your life. Now, that evening, I realized that I'd been floating through life. You know, I was working hard, having fun, and making choices to please others. Then life got complicated. I floated into some leadership positions, and I realized no matter how hard I tried, I could not please everyone. Yeah, that was a turning point. I realized that I had to change. And what's worse is in the back of my mind, there was a little voice that kept saying, when you work for the applause of others, you put your life in the hands of another. Now that's scary. So I decided I had to make choices that night. And the first choice was easy. I was not going back to sleep. The second choice was tougher. I wanted to answer those darn questions that woke me up that night. The first one was, who am I? Have you ever tried to write that? It was impossible, so I skipped it. I went on to the next question. What is my purpose in life? And I realized I could dream there because I had known good leaders and their impact. And I've seen not so good leaders and their impact. I knew that my purpose in life was to be the best leader that I could be. So I decided I was going to come and speak here. Now, I don't think I'd have the courage to speak with you about my life, except I know that every one of you will take that journey within to find your leadership. And I hope that something I share here will be of value to you. One of my biggest lessons was, you must be courageous. Now, there are many aspects of leadership courage. I'll share two of them with you. To be courageous, you must choose courageously. You know that your first choice, your second courageous choice, is not going to turn you in to the outstanding leader you could be. In fact, mistakes will be made. And that's the scary part. Your choices could either lead to success or failure. So I discovered that it reduces the stress when I think of each choice as a practice. And regardless of what the results are, I know I'm going to learn. Then I discovered the secret question. There's only one question you ask when you practice making choices, and that is, what am I to learn from this? Or, what am I to learn from this mess, usually, right? So when you ask that question, you cannot lose, because you always learn much more that way, and your energy is focused on how I can apply what I learned to the next steps in my journey. The second aspect of courageous choices is caring courageously. You know, I thought great leaders were always calm, always logical, always strong. Until the day a young man walked into my office and told me that his child had an incurable disease. I had no words. Logic failed me. We sat together, and I shared his pain and his sadness, and we cried together. Years later, he told me how much that minute meant to him. You see, caring courageously means showing your heart, having the compassion and empathy for others. So Authentic leaders know they must have the courage to show their true heart. Well, as I practiced all these courageous things, I realized I was learning more about myself. But it was still hard to organize my thoughts until I realized that I could describe what my values, what my strengths, and what my passions were. And that helped me feel very comfortable with myself. And the more comfortable I felt about myself, the more ready I was to learn about others and learn about their passions, their strengths, their values. And when I did, it opened up amazing new worlds to me because I was empathizing and being with others. When I realized that that's how I would know more about myself, I had this crazy urge to start sharing what I learned. Now, those are just simple truths I just shared with you, but still, could I help somebody? And luckily, right in the middle of my journey was an opportunity. There was a group of people who put together a leadership program for the community. I joined. I was so excited to share everything I learned with them, until to my humble surprise, they taught me even more. So Maria, she was in the first class, and she was already a supervisor. And she wasn't sure she was really a leader until she discovered her values. And her top value was doing the right thing for those people she led. And that doesn't mean doing the nicest thing, doing the popular thing, or doing the easiest thing. It really meant doing the right thing for each person's journey. She courageously made tough decisions. She resisted pressure. She knew what she had to do for each person. She focused on that. And as she proceeded in that way, she became more and more sure that she was an authentic leader. Maria has been promoted, moved up in her career, and yet, even now, 7 years later, when I meet someone who knew Maria, they tell me about the time she did the right thing for them. And I always think about Clark when I think about strengths. Clark was a self-avowed geek. I wonder how many of you are out there like that. He was very proud of his talents there, and he went through life logically until he joined our leadership program, and he discovered a strength inside himself he never imagined. He learned that he was good with people, like you. He was good with people, and he could build strong relationships. It changed how he looked at his home, his work, and his community life. In fact, about quality time. His quality time was with anybody that he met and he worked with. So he was promoted to an IT group, to manage an IT group, and he also won the Ordinary Extraordinary Man Award in our community. When I think of people who taught me about passion, that would be Manny. Manny taught me that it doesn't matter what age, you can find your passion. You see, Manny grew up in a loving but poor family. And sometimes at the end of the month, there was not enough to eat. When he was in high school, a history teacher said, "We're going to have a pop quiz contest. And the person who makes the best score in that month is going to get free pizzas." Manny went from a C student to an A student, and he took home those pizzas. But he took home something much more important, which was he could choose and act so he could improve his life or the life of others. Manny grew up to be a leader in our community, but he developed a passion for helping at-risk kids. And when he joined our leadership program, his goal was to develop a leadership program for at-risk kids. Within a year of when he completed the program, he'd found enough sponsors to make his dream a reality. I learned so much from those three people and the other leaders that I realized it is, for all of us, critical to understand our values, our passions, and our strengths in order to take that journey and be able to answer our own tough questions before they wake you up in the middle of the night. As for me, my original purpose, which was to be the best leader that I could be, it's bloomed into helping others be the best leader that they can be. And I hope when you start your journey, move along your journey to find that leader within you, that you will agree with Picasso, the brilliant artist who said, "The meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away." Thank you.